Charlotte came out and she was talking about how Asuka was her toughest challenge and she's still the champion. And now the question is, who's next? And that brought out the iconic duo of Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, much like the Authors of Pain, long rumored for the main roster. And just a matter of when, not a matter of if. And so when was Tuesday. They came out and debuted on SmackDown. They cut a promo on Charlotte. And then they beat the shit out of her. They beat her up all over ringside. They gave her a double powerbomb out on the floor. Man, they beat the crap out of this girl. And then they went to leave, and that's when Carmella's music hit. And she ran down to the ring with her Money in the Bank briefcase, and she handed it to Mike Chioda, and she was yelling and screaming and shouting and saying that she was cashing in. And this was also one of the great all-time SmackDown moments here, because this seemed to confuse Mike Chioda, who's only been doing this job for what? 38 years now, probably? Something like that. This was hilarious. He had a look on his face like somebody asked him to solve an algebra equation. As he wondered, like, you want me to do what with this briefcase? What exactly is it that you want me to do here? Carmella is just screaming at him like, ref, come on, I'm cashing in. And I thought for sure with this delay that she was getting screwed over. But she hit Charlotte with the crescent kick, as Gorilla Monsoon used to call it. And he pinned her. Or she pinned her. No offense to Carmella. She pinned Charlotte to become the new SmackDown Women's Champion. So 48 hours after ending Asuka's undefeated streak, Charlotte loses the championship to Carmella. And this is something else that really pissed a lot of people off. How can you do this? It's bad enough that you ended the streak. Of all people to end the streak, Charlotte didn't need to. She didn't need it. You broke the streak, and then you just take the title off her anyway. What a stupid company. And all I could say is, look, I am not a fan of ending Asuka's streak. I would not have ended Asuka's streak at WrestleMania the way they did. I would have put the championship on her. But people would have been far angrier if Asuka won the championship and then had her streak broken by a Carmella cash-in. To me, this doesn't diminish anything. It's very obvious that they are setting Charlotte up to be the first woman ever to main event WrestleMania. And they are setting her up for a major match, whether it's at WrestleMania or not, with Ronda Rousey. That seems to me to be the long-term plan. Just like a year ago, it seemed obvious to everybody that Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns was the long-term plan. Lo and behold, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns was your WrestleMania main event this year. So this is not that hard to decipher here. We kind of see where this is going. And in order to do that, you need to make Charlotte out to be the biggest thing in the entire women's division. She was already the champion. What more can you do with her? Well, you have her end Asuka's undefeated streak. That's what you do. So they did that. So now you have Carmella with this briefcase. She's got to cash in. She could cash in and fail, true. But they decide to take the championship off of Charlotte. And here's why it doesn't diminish anything and why I think this is fine. People are making far too big of a deal about this. It took 3 people to beat Charlotte and take her title. Okay? It's not like she slipped on a banana peel and got rolled up. Or got distracted in 6 seconds, the way that Baron Corbin did last year. You want to see a bad cash-in? You want to see screwing somebody over? You go back and you watch what they did to Baron Corbin last summer. He cashes in 6 seconds on TV and loses. He looks like a goober. And then he goes to SummerSlam, I think in what was the opening match, if I'm not mistaken, and jobs out to John Cena. Now, yes, they did put the U.S. title on him after that, I believe. But that's not exactly an ideal way to get somebody new over. So things can always be worse. It took 3 people to beat Charlotte. And so to me, it's really not that big of a deal. I also think Charlotte is moving to Raw. And if that's the case, they had to get the title off her somehow. Short of her coming out and surrendering the championship, and why the hell would she do that, right? Because she doesn't know that she's going to Raw. Let's say she is going to Raw. She wouldn't know that a week in advance. So she's not coming out to give up the title. You got to get it off her somehow. So you have her beaten down by 3 people. If you count Carmella, Carmella would be number 3. That was the way to go. If you were going to beat her, they did exactly what they had to do. It was a gang attack, and a pretty brutal gang attack, I must say. I mean, there was no blood, but they beat the crap out of her. And then Carmella came out and cashed in. And the only way that she was able to do that was because Charlotte was already beaten up. If it was a straight one-on-one, straight-up match and Charlotte lost, that would have bothered me. But I think the way they did it made a lot of sense. It was the only thing they could do, especially if they're going to move her to Raw. And I don't know if they are. It's a move I would make. But remember, she may move in the draft this week, in the shakeup. So I have no issue with them doing what they did here. I don't think it doesn't diminish Asuka. It doesn't diminish Charlotte. It doesn't diminish the championship. Unless you just are not a fan of these Money in the Bank cash-ins that, anybody can just cash in at any moment and that sort of devalues the belt. That would be a valid argument I think you can make. But I just can't bring myself to get angry about this the way that some other people are angry. I don't see this having any sort of long-term detrimental effect on Charlotte or Asuka. I think both of them are going to be just fine.